Peace. Today I wanted to build about justice. It is the letter J in our supreme alphabet, the 10th letter, and 10 in our mathematics is knowledge cipher. So there's a relationship between knowledge cipher, or the number 10, and justice, and that's what I wanted to take a moment to build about in this video. Justice is not just simply the rewards and the penalties that's based upon our ways and actions. Justice in principle is also a universal corrective force that maintains order and harmony within the universe. When you think about it in terms of it being illustrated, that is oftentimes why you see it represented as scales, because scales represents that order and harmony in the universe, because those scales represents balance, equality, equity, homeostasis, balance, fairness, and all of those various different synonyms that are associated with justice. Now, when you think about it, every time you interact with a person, you see their scales. You get a sense of justice and what it means to them as it relates to religion or politics or education, relationships, whatever. You always see a person's scales. Now, when you're assessing what a person says and what they do, you can see if there's some balance there, if there's some sense of equality or equity in that person, or you can see if they have some slanted views. You know, that means that their scales are tipped a little bit to the side, but then you can also see people who have some very extreme views when it comes to things related to religion or relationships or politics or whatever. When it comes to the political landscape, that is why you see people who are considered alt-right or far right or far left or leftists. These are people that have extreme views, and when you interact with people who have those type of extreme views, you can see that they've never really been exposed to people who have a counter perspective or a counter narrative. You can talk to some people like, man, they never really been around black people before like that. Or you can talk to some guys like, dang, they've never really seen like, good women before. Or, you could talk to some women like, man, they've never really been around good guys before. You can see those extreme views. And as 5%ers, one of the things that we say is we add knowledge on to the cipher. That's not just simply dropping knowledge on somebody or sharing perspectives with them. What that means in relationship to justice is we are invested to help bring about a more equitable society, because that's what justice is. It represents those scales. We strive to help bring balance, or to share more of a balanced perspective, and that is the process of adding knowledge on to the cipher. How? Well, when you look at a cipher, it being 360 degrees, 360 is understanding equality of the cipher. So understanding equality of the cipher simply means seeing your own scales, or seeing a more balanced perspective than what you actually might be holding right now. When that comes to a person that has an extreme view, that would be equivalent to them standing on one side of that cipher or circle, totally unexposed to what's going on the opposite end of that cipher. And when you listen to them, you get a sense of that, like, dang, they've really never been exposed before. So now when it comes to you adding knowledge onto the cipher, that means that you are looking at their scales and you're striving to add a little something to bring some balance. You're dropping some things on them. You're sharing some perspective with them to bring some balance to those extreme views that they've been holding sometimes for their entire life. Now, it's unreasonable to think that this person who has some boulders sitting on this side of this scale, you just going to come and drop some knowledge that's so heavy, it's just going to bring them scales back up to balance, and they're going to pat you on the back and thank you for showing them the light. It doesn't practically happen like that. But what does happen is when you invest in people and strive to develop a relationship with them, over time, you dropping knowledge or adding pebbles onto this side of the scale eventually helps bring some balance to the perspectives that they were holding that were so polarized and extreme that it put them in a position where it's easy to get blindsided by life. Now, what do I mean by that? If a person has very polarized views, or they have such extreme views, that means that there are certain things in their peripheral that they're not even checking for. Which means it's easy to get blindsided by life because there's things that you don't even consider. That's a very vulnerable position to put yourself in. So if a person is that extreme, or they're standing on one side of the cipher or the circle right here, adding knowledge onto the cipher means you're helping them become much more aware of the various different points around that cipher, or you're helping them become more circumspect when it comes to life. So as a 5%er, not only are you invested in that, but you're also open and receptive to the reality that you may be holding some slanted views or some extreme views. So you have to be receptive to people adding knowledge onto your cipher, because that cipher being 360 degrees it's done to help you better understand and see your own scales so that you can be more invested in an equitable society. So I will, this was inspiring, it was empowering, it was educational. It just gave those of you a general overview of the relationship of knowledge cipher as it relates in a practical way to justice.